Right, lots to talk to the government about now. The Culture Secretary, Lisa Nandy, is here with me, as you can see. Very good morning to you, Minister. Thanks so much for joining us. I want to get to the big announcement about the theme park in just a moment. But firstly, turmoil once again in the markets. Asian markets down sharply. The FTSE 100 futures are pointing to a 3% negative open. Is the government getting worried that even if we're facing lower tariffs, that there might be a global recession developing?
Well, look, we don't think a trade war is in anyone's interests, and what we're doing is keeping a cool head, working with our allies. In the last few days alone, the Prime Minister has spoken to leaders across the European Union, in Australia, India, Canada, to make sure that we're working very closely with our allies. The UK is a trading nation. We know that it's in our interest to continue to be able to trade. We are working with the US administration to secure a trade deal. We're working with other nations to make sure that we have closer trading relationships. We think that's in the UK's interest. We also think that's in the world's interests. And so it's a combination of working through how we best secure good investments into Britain, make sure that Britain is still a great place to do business, and working very closely with our allies to secure the best deals overseas.
China initially, this time last week, got 53% tariff from the US. It's now at 103% because they retaliated. The President added a further 50%. Is that vindication for a soft conciliatory approach, even if some suggest it's a weak response? Is it vindication of the right approach?
I don't think this is a weak response at all. Our job as a government is to do what is in Britain's national interest. Our relationship with the United States is long and it's deep. You know, it comes to military and security and defence cooperation. We've always had a very, very close relationship with the United States and the rest of our Five Eyes partners. We will continue to do so. We'll continue to trade with the United States. I think we're right to take that approach, but I also think that the reason that we're able to announce the announcement that we're making today about one of the biggest investments into the United Kingdom in recent times, huge vote of confidence in the UK, is because we are getting on with our plan for change. We're unblocking the barriers to growth. We're reforming the planning system. We're sorting out the transport system. We're taking all the necessary steps to make sure that the world knows that we're open for business, and the huge investment from Comcast and Universal today is vindication of that.
So let's talk a little bit more about that, and a reminder to our viewers that Universal, who are announcing this theme park today, are owned by Comcast, who also owns Sky News. How big an investment is this going to be?
It's huge. So it's billions of pounds worth of investment from Comcast and Universal, but it unlocks an estimated £50 billion in the UK economy. We're talking about a theme park that, when it opens, will attract an estimated 8.5 million people to visit it in the first year. And we're talking about 28,000 jobs. This is huge. This is not just about numbers on a spreadsheet. This is about good jobs. It's about growth. It's about raising people's living standards and putting money in people's pockets. And it's a massive vote of confidence in the United Kingdom.
What concessions have you as a government had to offer to get to this point of them committing to the scale of investment?
Well, both the Business Secretary and I said very early on, we want this to go ahead, and we've been working really closely with the company to make sure that it can. It's Universal's biggest investment, first huge investment in Europe. And the reason that we've been able to unlock it is partly because the UK is now a stable place to do business. We don't have the chopping and changing that we saw under the last government, and we're unblocking all of those barriers to growth, like planning. But what we've done specifically around this deal is make sure that we've got the transport infrastructure commitments that are needed to make sure people can get to the theme park, that there's no problems in the local area, congestion and so forth. That's not just good for people who are visiting the theme park, that's good for people in Bedfordshire and beyond. We're committed to improving the transport network in this country, but very specifically on this deal, we've been able to say to the company, look, if we do transport improvements, It unlocks billions of pounds of investment, and that's good for the whole country.
Luton Airport expansion was announced last week because they requested it?
The Luton Airport expansion was announced last week because it's a good deal for Britain, and we are determined to unblock all of the barriers to growth and start expanding. We also, before that, announced the Heathrow expansion. That will go ahead using British steel. So across the board, we're looking not just at growth and creating good jobs, but we're looking at how we support British industry, British business as part of that. It's a very different approach from the last government, and we're really thrilled that it's paying dividends.
In terms of building this, 2031 is the aim, 6 years, fairly ambitious for a thing of this scale. That will require builders from abroad?
We're skilling up young people at the moment. So the Prime Minister is today meeting young people with Comcast at a college in Bedfordshire, where we've got a local workforce that is ready and willing to start work. And the part of this investment announcement today is that the company will invest in skilling people up in order to work in those industries, whether it's film, TV, music, theme parks. We're working with major companies from all over the world, not just to invest in Britain, but to invest in British people as well.
Going back to where we started, do you think if the Prime Minister had retaliated with the United States all over the last week or so, but could that have torpedoed this deal?
I mean, look, this deal comes off the back of one of the most tumultuous few weeks in global markets that I think anyone can remember within living memory. And the fact that we've been able to show that we have steady political leadership here in the United Kingdom, that we're committed to working with governments all over the world, that we don't take knee-jerk decisions in response to global events, but we keep a cool head, work with our allies and defend British interests, is one of the reasons that we've been able to announce this huge deal today, and why we'll be able to announce more deals in coming months. The UK is open for business. We're a stable, good place to do business, and that's why we've been able to attract the sheer number of investments that we've announced in the last few months alone.
On the flip side, a survey today by Henley Partners and New World Wealth points to 11,300 millionaires leaving the capital, a big chunk of that in the last 12 months. If this data, the survey is followed by hard data on that front, would the government consider reversing its decision to abolish the non-dom tax status?
Well, the report points to a variety of factors that have led to that, most specifically Brexit. And one of the things that we're committed to doing as a government is making sure that we get a far better deal with the European Union that makes sure that we can continue to support British business. So in my area, for example, we've got significant problems, as has the EU, because music artists aren't able to tour from the UK and the EU and vice versa. Now, that's not good for anybody, so closer cooperation is in people's interests. But the tax regime in Britain is still highly competitive. We've got the lowest main rate of corporation tax in the G7. And look, when I come on programmes like this, I get asked a lot, why aren't you taxing wealthy people more? The fact that you're challenging me today to say, is the tax rate too high, I think broadly shows that we're taking the right approach and we're striking the right balance.
What's the message to departing millionaires? Good riddance?
No, of course not. I mean, the UK is an open country. We're a great place to live. We're a great place to work. We're a great place to invest. And I think people know that. In fact, in a recent PwC report, we've seen that the UK has rocketed right up the charts, according to CEOs of the top companies, as the best place to do business in the world. We are now second only to the United States. That is our highest ranking for decades. There is confidence in business to invest in us, and we're an attractive place to live in the country. Just look at the announcement today around with Universal and Comcast. They don't just want to be here because we're a great place to do business. They want to be here because we've got some of the most creative people in the world. We're home to James Bond. We're home to Paddington Bear. Film, TV, music, our cultural life. We are great at this stuff, and it's a huge vote of confidence in the UK that they've chosen to be here.
Lisa Nandy, thanks so much for joining us. Good to see you this morning.
Thank you.